we go. We're back. Oh dear, the exam breaks are just not long enough anymore, but hey-ho. I'm Stanford Chidge, and this is the Chelsea Football Fancast. And in spite of a horrible defeat to Palace on Saturday, and apart from Jonathan Kidd, we're all in fairly good humour tonight, I think. You still sulking?
Yeah.
Can you do a Spanish accent for me again?
No.
You actually sound a bit like Juan Mata then.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I coined that term last year when I heard him being interviewed. I thought that Juan Mata very much sounded like Puth in Booth.
Yeah, Puth in Booth, yeah.
I am Juan Mata.
Yeah.
What was his catchphrase?
Do you like my boot?
I'll stick you.
Was it?
Something like that. I can't remember, but it was very funny. It had something to do with the fact he was a great swordsman.
I've seen the film 10 times. You think I'd remember?
You would? I can't remember.
Yeah, because my daughter loves it.
Fear me, or something like that, isn't it? Puss in Boots, fear me, or something. I can't remember. Somebody write in and tell me, and I'll give you a prize.
He's also in Shrek as well.
You can have this empty can or something. Right, okay, now, back to the reality of this show. I do like to leap away from reality quite a lot, as you can tell. Now, we're going to have a few questions, I hope, from the people out there in Twitter and Mixerland. But before we do that, we're going to have a bit more fun with something that the no less a man than Joe Tweeds was doing on Twitter last week. He writes the whole of the Plains of Almeria, which is a brilliant, brilliant website if you haven't checked it out. But he thought it'd be great fun to figure out, or get people to figure out, what their Chelsea Decade 11 is. And by that he means you can choose any goalkeeper from any era. You need to listen to this, Jonathan, because you didn't understand.
I'm understanding it while listening.
Right, okay.
I can do two things at once.
I need to get one of those long poles with a boxing glove on it, don't I? Okay, so I can just like do that occasionally. Or just get up and hit him. Yeah, Andy, absolutely right.
Why am I coming in for such opprobrium today?
Come on, you love it, and you know you do. Right, okay.
No, I did it just deliberately for Chid to see whether he'd come back at it.
Speaking the Spanish accent.
Yeah. No,
there you go. See, that's good enough. I'm easily pleased. Anyway, the Decade 11. So basically you can have a goalkeeper from any era you like, and then you have to pick two Chelsea players from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s and the 2010s, and that will be your Chelsea Decade 11. Now, to start the ball rolling, I must warn you, there's a bit of weirdness that's happened, because we've been working ours out as we've been going along. Now, mine is... I don't have a graphic for this because I didn't give the boys any time to prepare. It's just to put up with me talking. But it's Cech is in goal, Chopper Harris from the 70s, John Terry from the 1000s, Desai from the 90s, Azpilicueta from the 2010s. Yes, because you see, he's recent. Lampard from the 1000s, Matic from the 2010s. And then, so I'm going to go 4-2-3-1, by the way, so I can wangle the whole way. Yeah. Right, so Lampard and Matic, and then from the 80s, Nevin, from the 90s, Zola, from the 70s, Osgood, and then up front, from the 80s, Dixon. So there you go. So my team is Cech, Chopper, Terry, Desai, Aspie, Lampard, Matic, Nevin, Zola, Osgood, Dixon. So what do you think of that?
it's great.
Formidable.
Yeah.
I love that up front though. Nevin, Zola, Osgood and Osgood and Dixon. Get the teeth back in. Do you like that?
Like it.
Now you've come up with one, haven't you?
I have.
So what have you come up with?
Checking goal.
Checking goal. So we're agreed on that.
Fullbacks, bit of jumping around, but Steve Clark.
Yeah,
it is
I'm
Chopper,
tempted.
asking Chopper to play out other side. But,
yeah.
You know. Desai.
You gone for
Terry.
Yeah.
Makaleli.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oscar.
Yeah, I can see that.
Nevin.
Yeah.
Zola.
Yeah.
Hazard.
Yeah.
Osgood.
So no Dixon for you.
It's tricky.
Yeah. And you've got Oscar in and Hazard in. And you see, do you know what? When I looked at mine, I thought, what? I haven't got Oscar and Hazard in. What an idiot. I've put Matic and Aspie in instead of Oscar and Hazard.
I've got a bench of about 47.
Yeah, I know. But you see, I just couldn't not pick Nevin, who is one of my all-time favourite players, Zola and Osgood. And I mean, you see, that lot, if I put a ring round like that, Lampard, Nevin, Zola, Osgood, Dixon, I could not have them in. So I thought, well, if I'm going to pick two, and so basically I made sure I put all of them in, and that basically left me with a midfielder and a left back. So that's what I had to put. But I think Aspie and Matic are going to be legends for the club, so I'm not too down on it. But I love yours. I like that.
Does this have to be a legends team?
No, not at all. It's just pick the players that you want most from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s and 2010s. Darren.
Oh, I put a 60s player in.
Well, let's have...
So have I.
Well, because I don't want to put Aspie in yet, and I mean, kind
Eddie
of
McCready played in the 70s.
I've
Yeah,
got
but
Eddie
he was a
McCready in
60s.
as well.
He was predominantly 60s.
Let's hear what you have to say.
Because otherwise, by the same token, Steve Clark played in the 90s. But, you know, you can say... I'm surprised Lampard wasn't in Kaiser Johnny's team, but I do agree with some of the other...
And Drogba's not in either of our teams.
You know what I did?
Drogba's not in either of our teams. Oh, well, we'll get to yours in a minute.
You know what I did? Because the 2000s, it's Terry and Lampard dominated completely.
Yeah.
And I tossed a coin, Terry or Lampard, and then pick someone else. Because you're missing people like Carvalho and, you know, great players.
Carvalho, one of the great
Winston
players.
Bogart.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
You know, how could you not have him?
legends.
I thought it was Bahardet.
Bahade.
Yeah. No?
Well, we do less about pronunciation, more on the team. It's quite a long thing, this. I put McCready in there because otherwise, yeah...
Who have you got in goal? Got Czech.
Oh, yeah, sorry, checking goal. Well, I was too young for Benetti, so I can't really stick him in there. Yeah, the same as you pretty much, Chidge. Terry, Desai, Harris.
McCready instead of Aspie.
Yeah, McCready instead of Aspie. I wanted to put Dennis Wise in there, but you have to have Zola and you have to have Desai, so you can have Dennis Wise
Exactly.
in there. So I haven't actually put a holding midfielder. To be honest, I wouldn't put Matic in yet. He's too new. It'd have to be, unfortunately, probably Ramirez ahead of him.
Matic and Aspie are definitely a bit contentious, I think.
I actually think you could play Nigel Spackman as the holding midfielder.
Again, I've got
actually.
80s and 90s people in there already.
So difficult.
You've got Nevin and
So
Dixon already.
difficult.
I'm really delighted. Sorry, Darren. I'm really delighted that on a night when Jonathan's pretty mopey, we've issued a challenge like this. Like you can see,
He's energised.
You can see he's like transforming into Burger Al before our very eyes. If Burger Al was to speak in a Spanish accent, how would he do it? It'd be the same, basically.
No, he wouldn't. He's up there, yeah. That's like that. It's burger.
No, he'd be like, I'm
He like that.
Spanish.
He'd be like that.
I'm gonna make you a
Okay,
burger.
I make you a burger.
I'm gonna flip you a burger.
Okay, I'll flip you.
Okay, all right.
You know some sauce.
I'd have to put Ramirez in. I don't really particularly want to, but I don't know who played holding midfield in the 60s, really, or the 50s.
None of them.
They didn't have them.
They didn't have them.
There wasn't
Yeah, they
anything
used
called
to
like
just
that.
WM
Do you know what? Do you know why the
formation.
60s and 70s were great? We didn't have double pivots.
No, but you used to have the old WM formations. You used to have enough people in...
Wingless
The
Wanderers.
fullback
Yeah,
used
but
to
then
kick
you
the
had
ball
the
out the
two-
pitch and people would shout out, "That's more like it!"
Attack!
The ball went to nobody at all.
It was great. Hurry up, Chelsea! Hurry up! I need to go home for my tea.
For my dinner.
My commonly worn tea.
Yes.
Hurry up.
So I put Ramirez in there, although that was quite begrudgingly, really.
Yeah.
Lampard and Nevin.
Yeah, got
So
it.
the noughties and the 80s.
I mean, you
and then
basically got Dixon,
Zola,
Osgood, Zola, Nevin, Lampard.
It's
You've
only
got,
the,
again, it's very...
the same,
and Harris,
it's only
you've
not
got,
Matic
yeah.
and Aspie.
Very little
They're the only
deviation.
two different ones.
Very little
but I would
deviation.
say that Matic has only been playing for like 2 months.
But I'd be honest with you, Matic and Aspie really were kind of... they were just convenient, you know, they're in there through my own convenience. Because like I said, once I'd like put all the people I really wanted in, I was left with 2 positions to fill,
Yes.
and they happened to be from the 2010s. Had I done it the other way round, I would have liked Johnny. I would have had Oscar and Hazard in there like a shot, but then it would have screwed up, you know, in people like Nevin in, I suspect. And I wasn't going to have that.
Yeah, no, that
I
was
wasn't going to have that.
I did the same
Hurry
thing
up.
as you. I went for the people that you sort of have to put in. I suppose the way you should have done it is
Not
go for the
anyway.
people from 2010 onwards, and
Yes.
then like work your way
Call blimey,
backwards
strike
to
alive.
put things in there. But
It's a regular pea super and no mistake.
Make no
Go on,
mistake.
go on like
I
they do
wanted
with a
Pat
cuppa.
Nevin. I wanted Pat Nevin in my Chelsea decade 11. Make no mistake. Over to you, Jonathan Kidd.
Well, I've got contentiously Fatty Folk in goal.
Fatty Folk! I remember seeing him play.
Because he could just occupy the space.
He could. And then
When I played Sunday football, we had
And he
a
could eat
similar
your
Fatty
burgers.
Folk, a bloke called Cliff, who was so enormous. He used to gut the ball away rather than
gut
save
the
it.
ball away.
And
I
the ball
love
went,
that.
and he'd go, poof.
Old
And he'd
school.
lie there and we'd go,
Gut the
yeah,
ball.
that's... And the trouble is he wouldn't get up because he was so exhausted.
Did you have the whole team have to like
Yeah, they
help?
had to keep- yeah, the nice thing about it, he'd protect me at the end of the game.
Would he?
He'd come up and say, "Don't worry, Jonathan." I'll the same Burger Al voice.
It was
by the way.
Burger Al,
He said-
wasn't
he
it,
said,
actually?
"Don't worry, Jonathan. I'll protect you." Because
I'll
some bloke had
protect
said,
you.
some bloke had come up to me and said, "Yeah, you're a bit of a posh, and I'm going to knife you at the end of the game."
Bit of a posh burger, in
Yeah,
fact.
that's what he said. He used to say, yeah. So he said, "Don't worry, Jonathan, stick with us." So him and the centre half would escort me off the pitch.
Oh, bless.
Anyway, Fatty Falk in goal. Eddie McCready, who I used to think was brilliant beyond belief. What a brilliant player. John Mortimer, centre half.
John Mortimer.
That's going to throw a few.
Whoa, curveball.
Curveball. Yeah. Ash, fullback. Obviously,
Ashley
Ash,
Cole.
wonderful
Yeah.
player, brilliant, absolutely brilliant servant. Joe McLaughlin, centre half.
I like that.
Yeah. Midfield, Nigel Spackman,
Spackers.
brilliant player. Spackman, just out of this world. A wonderful purchase from Bournemouth.
He
more or
was.
less.
He's from Romsey.
Yeah.
Originally a few
Yeah.
miles down the road from me.
And I think he's probably a decent manager, but he got shafted. Am I allowed to say that word?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lamps, obviously, who is just the best midfielder there's ever been. Up front, Johnny Spencer.
No way.
Yeah, Johnny Spencer. The reason I love Johnny Spencer
Random
is because
team, Jonathan.
I went to Austria Vienna, and when he scored that goal from the halfway line, and it was just the most remarkable goal I have ever seen anybody score for Chelsea.
And he scored that by running actually under people's legs.
He did. He did.
That's what I liked about it.
And people tried to chop him down as well, and he managed to.
But they kept on missing.
And it was the most
They tried to chop him down, but the legs were going over his head.
That's right. No, they weren't. But he was just very quick. He was swift.
Brilliant.
But it was just. It was a great goal because it was so against the run of play, and also that bizarre team selection of the time. They only had a certain number of Europeans were allowed to be picked.
I always thought that basically the way that Hoddle worked that out was that
Yeah.
you had to play a certain number of players that were under 4 foot.
Yes, it's
You know,
true.
I
But
think he
had
totally misread
the
that
bizarre
rule.
Myers playing. It was
Yeah.
just
The Diddy men, they
it
were
was
like
just-
mental, that stuff. Do you know what I love most about that, though? They look like a cartoon size.
They were.
Because they were so small. You know how if you see cartoons, the way that people run, you know, like, I kind of need a Hanna-Barbera sound.
What was the other one? It was the
Anthill Mob.
It's like the
Yeah,
Anthill
yeah.
Mob.
But the terrific, then Jason Kjellberg was centre half.
Yeah,
there was absolutely
liked him.
excellent.
Nails,
what
mate,
a terrific
nails.
player. And of course, that was Graham Rix played in that game as well because we
didn't
didn't
he?
have enough.
Rico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, then Ruud Gullit, obviously at other midfield. 'Cause
Very unusual for Graham Reeks to play over age.
Yes, it was, wasn't it? Yeah. To me, Gullit was the best player.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it as well. I tried to get over it very quickly. Yeah.
Did you take it literally?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, slightly ruined his career, didn't it? Anyway, Gullit was the best Chelsea player I've ever seen. For me,
Yeah.
better than anybody.
I nearly put him in, actually. I was going to play him as a
was
sweeper.
close.
Remarkable player, and people just weren't on the same wavelength as him. So he could. There was what's a wonderful moments when you used to do those terrible theatrical things. He'd go, doo, doo, having played the ball obviously into a place where Spencer was supposed to be, and Spencer would run in the opposite direction. And you thought, I want to see. We don't need to do that kind of theatrical thing to say how rubbish it was. We could see that actually, Ruud. But we knew. But he was. Remarkable ability just to look up and beat people and always looking for the pass. It was superb. So Ruud's in there for me, and then Didier completely.
You got Drogs in there.
Yeah, remarkable.
I'm really glad
remarkable
about
player.
that.
And Dixon, who proved that his ability.
You got Dixon in there
yeah,
too?
Yeah, his ability to score in both what was then the second division, followed by these Venables is just at the end. I wanted to fit him in.
Is he
'cause
the
I loved him.
manager or the?
He could be.
He wanted to be.
Venables scored one of the most fantastic goals. I met him in. Are you counting them? One missing.
Scribes.
No, I was just seeing with what decades have you got
There
it
were.
right.
Venables scored against Roma. When he went, I was there. I did.
That's
I saw
why there
that.
was a right scrap, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was. No, but this
Yeah.
this is one of the free kick. You know, you can't remember games. He won 4-1 at the Bridge, and they took a free kick where he went up to shoot, and he in fact passed it to somebody in the edge of the wall, ran through the middle of the wall, and just hit it into the net. It was kind of actually, and I met him at some away game, and just went up to him and said, "Oh my God, Terry Venables! Oh, you scored that wonderful goal!" And he went, "Yeah, I remember that one. God, I love that goal." And I said, "Yes, so did I." And there was a moment of kind of,
Moment of oneness.
yeah, just because it was such an. I was a
I
kid,
interviewed
and it was
Venables
just
once.
brilliant.
I interviewed
absolutely
Eltel, post-England manager days and all of that. He's a really lovely bloke.
Yeah, he was.
Off camera, I spent a lot of time talking about Chelsea.
But it's very nice also to meet old Chelsea players who are generally enthusiastic about your enthusiasm for them. And I've met some other players from other clubs who are just absolutely downright miserable and not interested. Whereas I met Alan Hudson last year, who was just absolutely sweet.
Alan Hudson, we've had on the show, and he's lovely. I mean, he was just hilarious.
Yeah, but also a wonderful player as well.
One of my favourites.
I should have had him in there as well, but I wouldn't have enough.
So many players we can't get in. It's
Cheddar's got one. Can I go through Cheddar's
You
quickly?
can. It's Cheddar got one. And
Cheddar's
then
done his one.
we're not going to get any questions in, but who cares? We're going to have a few from the benches. Let's do Cheddar's, and then we'll come to you guys.
Petr Cech in goal.
Petr Cech in goal.
Dan Petrescu from the 90s.
Pet Rescue.
Wonderful player.
Terry Harris and then Ashley Cole. He's got.
Lampard.
Ashley Cole was from 2010 onwards. Though.
That's kind of
because
cheating.
he started in the noughties, not the tens.
That's kind of cheating, Chad. But
I
I'll let
think
you off.
so. Lampard, Wise. Yeah, he's Dennis Wise there. Yeah, Charlie Cook, the Bonnie Prince.
Yeah, Cook was great. Yeah.
Pat Nevin, Speedy.
He's put Speedy in, but not Dixon.
It's different.
But I guess, I don't know. And he's got.
Speedy had a
Drogba is his...
wonderfully competitive aspect to everything.
Do you want to hear something about Cheddar's dad?
Yeah.
He agrees with you. He says he agrees with Jonathan. Ruud Gullit is the best footballer to play for Chelsea.
There we go.
That's really lovely because very few people agree with me.
Right,
It's very nice to be
benches.
agreed with.
I would love to hear what you have to say all
We'll
about
do our
this.
team very quickly. We've gone for slightly different tags.
Is this a collective benches 11?
Yeah, okay.
Lovely.
In goal, Peter Barota,
Oh, yes.
Mad.
Mickey Joy,
Yeah.
Anthony Barnes,
Oh, controversial. Who?
Bosingwa,
Bossingwa. You're having a Steffi Graf here. What are you cheeky monkeys? It's supposed to be serious.
Jess Hogue, Darren Wood, Alan
Jess Hogue.
Mays.
Hey, whoa, pause. You mentioned Darren Wood, who is named after Darren Mantle.
No, the other way round.
You know what I mean.
Darren Wood,
I wanted to put him in my team, but because you had Nevin and Dixon
Yeah.
in the 80s, I couldn't put Darren Wood in there, but I really wanted to.
Alan
Alright, so-
Mays, and a front four will scare you. Dave Mitchell, Phil Driver, Peter Rose Brown, and Robert Fleck.
You are being
I
very
think-
naughty.
I think-
Can you run it? Can you run that over again, and I won't interrupt because I want to hear
Okay,
it.
all right.
Is this the worst team?
We've got Peter Barota, slightly strange black forward, Mickey Joy, Anthony Barnes, Jose Bosingwa, and Jess Hogue. Midfield of Darren Wood, Alan Mays, Dave Mitchell, Peter Rose Brown, and Driver and Fleck.
That is an astonishing team. Can I ask you what lies behind that team? Why did you choose that lot?
We just like to be different on the benches.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
Like
know,
that
you've
bit
left
different.
out Mays. You left Alan Mays out.
Alan Mays
Left
was in
him
there.
out.
He was there.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
hot-
okay.
yeah.
What happened to Teddy Maybank?
Oh, he was good though.
Yeah, he's on the bench.
He was
along
too
with
good,
Dave-
Maybank.
Along with Dave Hopkin.
You know what we should have done, don't you? We should have cheated slightly, okay? And we should, as a retro 11, number 1 is Robert Fleck. Number
Number
2
two
It's Robert
is Robert
Fleck.
Fleck.
Number 3. You know how the song goes.
And on.
But that's really quite funny. Have we got any feedback from out there in Mixer Land beyond what we've just chosen?
I don't think since the mixture started not working properly, we haven't had too much actually.
dear.
Not many people have been interacting since it.
I would turn
first.
Mixer on my phone, but then we'll just be able to hear ourselves back of like a minute later, and it would be all a bit too weird.
The only feedback we actually have is Willie K. Mambwe saying, "What about Torres?" Ha 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 ha. But other than that, we don't have any.
He's a card.
Can you say that again? That was too funny to like.
What about Torres? Ha 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 ha. That's Mwali K. Mambwe there.
Torres, he not here. Okay. But that is great fun. I mean, it just shows you actually how blooming hard it is to.
Yeah.
I mean, the number of players that we've left out. I mean, well done. We ought to say actually, and I thought actually a round of applause for Joe Tweed.
Good
No
work.
lesser man than Joe Tweed for coming up with a great fun little thing to do. And I thought that would last 5 minutes, and we could get to have loads of questions from Twitter and Mixler. But and we've only got 2 more minutes. So what should we talk about in 2 minutes?
The gig.
I think I was going to say, when will people... I reckon that Lampard and Terry's contracts won't be offered till before the Norwich game. I think the start of May. If we get a Champions League semi-final, I think within the days after we get to the Champions League final, they'll then get new
I've got a
contracts.
great idea. I'm going to ask Jonathan a question, if you don't mind, Johnny
Okay.
and Darren. Who is your favourite player that you saw in the 50s?
I can't remember. I was too little.
Who was your
But
favourite...
Jimmy, apparently, I saw Jimmy Greaves
Alright.
score 4 goals, but with my dad. But
you don't remember?
I don't remember.
Who was
it,
your
no.
favourite player that you saw play in the 60s?
Barry Bridges.
Barry Bridges.
Yeah.
Interesting choice.
Yeah.
Who was your favourite player that you saw play in the 70s?
Alan Hudson.
Alan Hudson. And who was your favourite player that you saw play in the 80s?
80s. Pat Nevin.
Pat Nevin. And how many of that... Who was your favourite player in the 90s? Ruud Gullit.
Yeah, Ruud Gullit. Yeah, absolutely.
Who was your favourite player in the 1000th?
In the 1000th? Frank.
Frankie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how many of them made your 11?
So Hudson didn't, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
No, they didn't. But I was also
No,
pairing
it's
up.
very
you know.
difficult. That's my point.
Yeah.
You know, you can have favourite players.
They don't all
Exactly.
fit. They don't all fit
You know,
into
I love
the
Mickey-
pattern. You could put them all your favourite players in, and you go, hang on,
I
you've
know.
got 6 midfielders
Well, I love Mickey
there.
Joy and I love Butch
You know.
Wilkins, but neither of them made the
Yeah,
cut.
yeah.
All right, we've had a lot of fun with that. We're going to try and do things like that more in future because I, for one, really enjoyed it. But sorry, sadly, no questions for you lot on Twitter and Mixler this week. But we'll try and do that next week. Actually, no, we won't because there's 2 games. Ha ha. Anyway, after the break, we will be back for news and chatter stats and other stuff. Don't miss it. It's great. See you in a minute.